So, dear Dhamma friends, it's nice to meet you all again. I am making a slight change in our frequency in order to allow more time for myself to practice. What I realize is I need to invest more in the practice. So what I thought was every other week I'll have the programs. So the morning program in English medium will be held on 1 week, and the evening Sinhala medium program will be held on the alternate week. And that way I feel I can invest in my practice. And today also I'm hoping to invest at least 3 hours in the practice. So what I thought is I'll give an introduction in the beginning, and then we get on to the practice. And I suggest those of you who can continue, I will stop the recording after the introduction, because it's very important. I think we all know sufficiently to practice. There was a good example. One of my early teachers told me, Venerable Homagama Konanya Thero, he said, to know how to practice and not is the same as not knowing how to practice, right? So we feel privileged that we are born in a time where the Buddha's word is still available, freely available in the world. Right? There are some channels that are on for 24 hours, and through those channels and YouTube and various other means, books, there's a lot of access to the knowledge that the Buddha self-discovered and then shared for 45 years. And it's been 2,600 years. So we feel fortunate that we have access to this Dhamma. But what my teacher told me was, you are no different to any other human being on this planet who doesn't have access to this Dhamma for whatever the reason. Because to have access to the Dhamma and to not have access to the Dhamma are pretty much the same. The difference is in how you practice and cultivate your mind. Because when you see the Dhamma, that's what the Buddha said. When you see the Dhamma, you see me. So seeing the Dhamma comes only from the practice, because seeing and hearing from our normal sense doors will get you only that much far. And the Buddha said it's almost like a person who has never seen and never heard the Dhamma. But to see the Dhamma in your mind's eye, that is when you can really say that you have made use of this good fortune of being born a human during a time that the Buddha's word still is there in the world. So, since Buddha is our teacher and our role model and the guide, I think that is how we should also move forward. Invest more in your own practice, because seeing in your mind's eye what you have heard and what you have read is only possible through the practice. And bhavana is called cultivating, mental cultivation. It's called using the theory. Bhavita kirima, bhavana. So that is what we should do. So friends, if you manage to carve out some time for today, for the program, my suggestion is invest a bit more time, more than what you carve for yourself. Because it may be just once a week for you. It's certainly that for me. And as you build this practice and as you start really seeing the Dhamma in your mind's eye, you will get the taste of what comes with that seeing. And that will propel you to want to invest more in a daily practice. And I think that is the subtle difference between us and the real practitioners. Real practitioners have a daily practice. And that is where we all should aspire to be. So this last week, I forget where it was. I was trying to be in the practice, and I realized something, and I thought I would like to share it with you. And that was, so there are two ways of practicing, right? And it's all about the monkey mind. So the Samatha way of practice is to discipline that monkey mind. So the Buddha referred to the mind, the untrained mind, as a monkey mind, because you don't see a monkey sitting and meditating, right? On the contrary, the monkey will always be busy with something. Even if the monkey has nothing to do, the monkey will be scratching or running or jumping or doing something, right? A busybody. So he said our untrained mind is like a monkey mind. So Samatha meditation is all about training the mind. So what is really going on? So you may be able to reflect that our brain has three components, right? We have the reptilian brain, which is the very basic level of a brain for any animal species. Then the mammalian brain, which is where all the emotions, memories, and all the learning comes in. In order to learn, you need memory. And then there's, of course, the prefrontal cortex, which is only in human beings. And therefore, human beings are considered the most evolved species on this planet. And the monkey mind is what we are born with, because we are wired to the reptilian and the mammalian brain. So we are wired to fight or flight mode and emotions. That is the way we start life. The prefrontal cortex is there, but it's not wired into, and it develops last in the human evolution. So scientifically, it is found that for females, the prefrontal cortex fully develops by the time you are 25. It could be 27 for some. So it's 25 to 27. And for men, it is 28 to 30. So your logical thinking capacity, you are at full capacity of logical thinking. If you are a lady, it is when you are 25 to 27. If you are a gentleman, it's between 28 to 30. And this is possibly why you find after 30, people settle down. People settle down because their logical brain is fully functional. So at the age of 15, I don't know how much of this logical brain has developed. And when I think of myself, I think the ages of 12 to 15 was when I was fighting with my mother the most. And I can just imagine that probably my logical brain either was malfunctioning or something going on there, because for my emotional brain between 12 to sort of 14, 15, I saw my mother as enemy number one, right? And 16 onwards, I started seeing her in a very different way. And that has only improved over the years. It has come to the other extreme now of realizing that a mother and a father in general, I know there are exceptions. The mother and the father are the only two beings who have unconditional love towards you. And yeah, so that is another extreme from going from mother is enemy number one to mother is unconditional in her love. Right? And now I think the lack of the logical brain or lack of accessing it or something was going on. And with the hormone dynamics kicking in, no wonder that at that age, you are very emotional and you see right as wrong and good as bad. And some of us thankfully get out of it, and some others may take longer, and very exceptionally, I suppose, some may struggle for a very long time. And all of this makes sense. It's just a pity that you have lived sort of a very good part of your life, let's say till about 30, without your logical brain fully functioning. And this sits well with what's going on in the world as well, and certainly with my own life experiences. So I found that after 30, I was really settling down. I was more compassionate and patient and forgiving, and so many other things just naturally came in, right? And I find that in others as well. So people get interested in this kind of meditation and all of that after 30, 35. So life events also probably come in, because around that age, you notice that your parents who you always depended on, they're beginning to age, and with aging comes all the various other issues. Anyway, coming back to Samatha meditation. So this monkey mind needs to be trained. And the sooner you start, the better. So thanks to the Dhamma school that I attended back then, from grade 1, all students up to grade 12 were trained to meditate 20 minutes. Now, I don't have memories as far as grade 1, but I distinctly remember disliking Dhamma school for many reasons. And this 20-minute meditation was one. And this was when I was about 9. And understandably, I suppose, 9-year-old probably doesn't see the logic or the reasons or the benefit in sitting for 20 minutes in an Anapanasati meditation. But I also was acutely aware at 9 years that when I sit for that meditation, I feel peaceful. And this was the curiosity that drove me to explore meditation, actually. What I didn't like was how it was enforced. So it was enforced on us with a bit of strong-willed discipline, if you will. And I think that was the part that I didn't like. But I do distinctly remember that even though the sitting was uncomfortable, the sitting was peaceful. It was uncomfortable because the body wasn't used to it. And many years later, in school, once I remember, when we were, I don't know, 15 or 16, somebody introduced meditation and we were asked to sit for 10 minutes. And for me, it was nothing, because as a kid, I could sit for 20 minutes. And when I saw my friends struggle after the first 2 minutes, I was wondering, why are they struggling? So all of these things have shown me that getting kids started on meditation at early age definitely has its benefits. And now in our Dhamma school also, we have started that practice in honor of our teacher, Venerable Homagama Konnanyatero. He always wanted it done. We never did it while he was around, but after he passed away, I thought this is the best way to honor his teaching and his practice and his name. And all the other teachers also agreed. And we started a 20-minute meditation in the morning, pre-grade to grade 12. And the first people who gave feedback was the parents. Parents of pre-grade, grade 1, grade 2, they were like, please do this. And because I had my experience of strong-willed application of it. So I let the kids be pre-grade, grade 1, so they open their eyes and they are into various monkey business. But still, most of them, they sit. The monkey business is with open eyes and looking at others. But they certainly sit. And some kids, I'm really surprised. Some kids sit and meditate, actually, pre-grade, grade 1. Amazing to see. Anyway, and I can see it's been now a couple of months since we started. More than a year, I think. You can see kids evolve and they become comfortable. The ones who fidgeted are now comfortable. It's all about a practice. It's all about a habit. And one day they will know when they need it, that they have done it before, been there, seen it, done it before. And hopefully that will help them one day. Anyway, coming back. So the Samatha meditation, training the monkey mind, is a very important part of it. But what I now find more interesting is the Vipassana side of it, which is to observe that monkey mind. And just recently, I just accidentally sort of discovered how to do that. And I thought, let me share with you. And I don't think any of these things are accidental. It's all based on the teachings of the various teachers I have been exposed to. You know how the mind works, right? There's nothing new that gets created. It's all based on memories, past memories. And the brain processes them, keeps processing them with various algorithms and churns out something. So none of these are creations. These are all coming from things we have heard before, things we have read before, and the subconscious just trying to make sense of those, even when we are not aware, right? So what I saw was, it all started by my wanting to tame the monkey mind. And it's something I had never been able to do. I find that I'm one of those highly distracted people, right? So whenever I try to do Anapanasati, mostly I'm bringing my mind back to the breath rather than being with the breath. However, I have found it to be very peaceful. Anyway, so this can be demotivating if you believe that being able to focus on the breath is success. And then if most of the 1 hour or the half an hour you spent, you were trying to focus, then by definition, it was not successful. But over the years, Venerable Ajahn Brahm always says it's not the quality, it's not the quantity, it's just the sitting. It's like flying hours. Something is clicking, some clock is ticking on it. Just trust in the process and just do it. And in trusting such teachers, I have just done it, and I have found that actually it does help to evolve something else. And your awareness evolves, your awareness increases. So your awareness about subtle emotional changes, very subtle level of things that you didn't see before that were there in you, start surfacing. So then you see it holistically, and you see that even though I may not have focused on the breath, in trying to do so, something else is happening. So therefore, I do try to do Anapanasati for a short while. So recently I was doing that for a short while, and I realized that the mind is getting distracted. And rather than fight it, I thought, let me observe it. Let me observe this distraction. And what I stumbled upon was this. As I was watching the distraction, so it's something like this, right? You're closing the eyes and you're focusing on the breath. And then suddenly the attention is on the sole of the foot. Then it comes back to the breath. Then next it is on a little scratching sensation near the forehead. Then again back to the breath. Then the sensation just goes to the bottom part of the body where you're sitting. And then maybe to the spinal area. And again back to the breath. Then a thought comes. Why is this mind all over the place? Then back to the breath. Then I hear a sound. Then back to the breath. And then I was thinking that how does the 5 sense doors work? They can only work when your attention goes to it. So this is why you might see a person, but not see the person. So a person might be in your visual range, right? The person might be right in front of you. But if your attention was on something else, you will not see that person. And there are enough examples in our lives where then the person will tap you and say, hey, I'm here right in front of you, right? What are you thinking, or what are you, where are your thoughts? And then you're like, oh my goodness, yeah. Yeah, you are right in front of me. I didn't see you, right? Or sometimes somebody might be in a side and trying to get your attention, and you are deeply absorbed in something, either a thought or some activity that you don't see it, and then the person somehow gets your attention and I was like, I was trying to get your attention, but you didn't see, and then you're like, yeah. So what does it mean? Just because somebody is in your attention span, visually, auditory, for your nose, for your tongue, right? That is how sometimes we are eating food, but we have no idea what we ate because our attention was on what we were watching. So what it shows is that where there is attention, that is where the mind is. So I used just this simple principle. And when I thought, let me find where the mind is getting distracted, it was all about just observing, just being aware where the attention is going to. Because where the attention goes to, that is where the mind is. So I finally understood what many monks say, that even to do Vipassana meditation, you start with an anchor, and the anchor is your breath. You start with the breath. And in Samatha, you control the mind. You don't let it go away anywhere. If it goes somewhere, you bring it back to them. But with Vipassana, you start with the breath, and then you stay still, observing and being aware. And where the attention goes, where the mind is, you just follow. So I was doing this, started with the breath, and then just let go. So sometimes the attention was with the breath. Sometimes the attention just went at very high speed, 2-3 spots, sometimes of the body, sometimes to a sound. And when it had nothing to do, because there was awareness, because that was observing, the mind came back to the breath on its own. And I couldn't practice much, but I was looking forward to practicing it today with you all. So let me pause and check whether you have any questions about this method. So that was an excellent question about how does this relate to the normal Satara Satipatthana, and does it merge in? So let me put it this way. I'm also not clear, okay? But let me share what I have heard. So I have heard that Anapanasati meditation can be practiced as a Samatha meditation and also as a Vipassana technique. The Samatha meditation is where we focus on the breath and we train the mind to stay there. So it's a bit of a suppression, a control, and it is considered good because when you are sitting for a couple of hours of meditation or a meditation retreat, it's generally recommended to do at least 1 hour of Anapanasati meditation so that it really stills the mind. It helps to calm down and really focus and concentrate the mind in order to have a good Vipassana practice. And Anapanasati meditation can also be done as a Vipassana practice in the manner that we just described, by starting with the breath and then just observing and just following where the attention is going and knowing that where the attention is, that's where the mind is. But not intervening, not interfering, just observing. And when the mind is then ready to come back to the breath, the mind will come back to the breath. And Ajahn Brahmansha Hamdro always says that gradually as you get into this practice, the mind more and more comes back to the breath on its own. And it stays longer in the breath. And gradually you get longer and longer and longer durations where the mind on its own stays with the breath. Okay. And I thought that is beautiful. And that is what I think we describe. Now, from a Sattara Satipatthana point of view, what I feel is this. As you observe where the attention goes, you will also observe subtle likings and dislikings of that moment. So, for example, let's say you are in the breath and then a sound distracts you, and that sound is very unpleasant, and instantly you notice that you dislike it. So that is a Chittanupassana, right? Wherever you notice that a liking or a disliking has come, it's a Chittanupassana. And in Chittanupassana, there is also the Lobha and the Dvesha and the neutral part of it, where there is neither liking nor dislike. And that is considered the moha side of it. It's considered the sort of selfish, disinterest, right? And therefore that part of it, being aware of how you feel about it, is definitely the Chittanupassana. Now, sometimes your attention goes to body sensations, right? Like sometimes when I'm meditating, suddenly I can feel near my jaw area, all those sensations that we practice looking at when we are doing the Vedana-Anupassana, especially the Goenka-ji technique of it. And I feel that in various parts of the body, and then for a moment, a thought comes in, or I reflect on the impermanence, right? So Vedana-Anupassana, and then reflecting on impermanence is Dhamma-Anupassana, actually. So once or twice I heard about how by starting with the breath, the entire Sattara Satipatthana can get practiced as these things occur. Now, we don't want to try and explain that too much because it can confuse people, right? And that is why in Sattara Satipatthana we practice separately. So with each technique you get very familiar. As you get familiar with each technique, you see that in life most of it it comes together. So letting your mind be, just observing, and then any thoughts that come that tells you that, or that awareness of this is a like, this is a dislike, this is impermanence or whatever. So it then becomes a mix of that Sattara Satipatthana, right? So let me pause again.